What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Bass Yackwards TV. And as you can see, we're indoors today. It's October 29th. It's actually my 25th birthday, and to say it's warm out would be a lie. It's pretty cold here in Ohio, and unfortunately, the season's going to be coming to a close here pretty soon. We're still going to go out, hopefully get some steelhead footage for you guys. Hopefully get out, maybe do a couple more bass trips, but it would be a lie if I didn't say the season was coming quickly to an end. So with that, we are actually going to transition into a new style of video that we haven't really done, and that's just more like general discussion and tips kind of videos. And I figured with it being my birthday, I might as well start it off with my favorite technique, one that I use all year round. I think that there's a lot of people that don't tap into its full potential, and I want to give all my knowledge that I've got on it to you today. And that is the drop shot. So, stay tuned, and we're going to give you all the things you need to know to build the ultimate drop shot rig. Stay tuned. So guys, like I said, we're going to start out with the drop shot rig here for all of our tips videos, and I figure we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up to the tip. So with that said, we're going to start with weights. Now this is the weight that I'm using probably 80 to 90% of the time, and that is a Wicked Weights 3/16 ounce teardrop. Wicked Weights is a company that is just recently starting out, and you know, to be completely honest with you, earlier this year, I was one of those guys that said you don't need tungsten. Lead is perfectly fine for this technique. And then one of my good buddies, Sean, told me about Wicked Weights, said that I needed to check them out if I did a lot of drop shot fishing. So I did, and, well, thank you, Sean. You completely changed the way that I fish this rig. Guys, tungsten is absolutely the way to go. I know you've heard it from other people, I'm sure, but it's the truth. Lead is perfectly fine, but you will 100%, if not more, notice more bites and just be able to feel more with that tungsten than you will lead or definitely steel weights. Wicked Weights are 97% 97% tungsten, and they're absolutely awesome. Now, whenever I'm not throwing the teardrop style, I'm throwing the same weight, 3/16 ounce, in the cylindrical style. The biggest difference between these, and if you look at the bottom of it, it'll tell you all. There's more surface area with the teardrop than there is with the cylindrical weights. So what that means is more sensitivity to you. And that's regardless of whatever you use. Whether you're using steel weights, lead weights, or tungsten, a teardrop style with that more surface area on the bottom of the weight is going to give you more sensitivity. It's just science. The only time that I'll switch over to using the cylindrical weight here is if I'm fishing rocks that have a lot of holes in them where the weights could get snagged, or real thick weeds where it's going to be very hard to drag a teardrop one through. I'll switch to the cylindrical ones. They come through thick cover a little bit easier, and they don't get stuck inside the rocks. You can actually get them back out pretty well. So that's when I would go to this one. But generally speaking, I'm always throwing the teardrop because I want the most sensitivity that I can get. If you guys are interested in checking out Wicked Weights, I'm going to include a code for you guys to use here in the video. It'll save you guys some bucks whenever you order from them. And you'll notice right away that Jim and Jared over there at Wicked Weights, they take pride in absolutely everything from the shipping to the packaging of the weights themselves and the quality of the weights. They're outstanding. So we'll work our way up from there to the line. And I run a Gliss to fluorocarbon leader, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But for my fluorocarbon, I use Sunline FC Sniper. This is 8-pound here. You know, you'll hear a lot of the pros say that they fish this on 4 and 6-pound. You can. I don't think it's necessary, especially with fluorocarbon. It's virtually invisible underwater. It's still very sensitive, and especially when you're fishing up north, and there's all kinds of toothy creatures like walleye, pike, muskie that I have all caught on drop shot rigs. it's worth going to the extra poundage. Now from there, I run it up to the hook, and that one doesn't need any explanation. That is a Trapper Tackle 1/0 drop shot live bait hook. I'm sure if you're a fisherman, you have seen these hooks everywhere in the past year or two, and for good reason. They're a total change in the way that we think about our hooks. I've never seen anything like it. If you aren't familiar with them, I'll just go over a little bit, just the science behind it. And there's two main reasons why their hooks have the trapper box there. First one is obviously going to be whenever you do set the hook on a fish, the thought is that it'll pin the lip inside of here, and that gives the fish less surface area to leverage the hook out of them. And especially on a drop shot rig, that's smart, because for a leader, I will normally run 6 to 12 inches, maybe a little bit more. I know Trent up there in Michigan will fish even heavier, or longer leaders, I should say. And just the clearer the water and wherever the fish are is going to dictate how long of a leader you use. But if you think about it, that's a lot of leverage. That fish can be throwing this weight everywhere, and if it gets the right pull, could pull that hook right out. So them eliminating as much of that as possible with this hook is nothing but beneficial to you. The second reason, and this is the reason that I particularly like these hooks a lot, is they make rigging a breeze. Because all you have to do is take your hook, take your bait of choice. This one here is a Zoom finesse worm, and voila. Now if you notice, the crazy thing about that is not only does the box help land your fish, but it's also going to keep your baits vertical in the water, and it keeps them in place. They're not sliding around all over the place. And the hooks that I used to use before this were the VMC spin shots, and they're not bad. I like them a lot. I had very, very few fish ever throw them on me. I never had anyone break, but the baits constantly moved. I had to re-rig every time I hooked a fish and just reposition the bait, cut some off the bait, which hurts the action of it. So this is going to be a nice feature for anybody that's had to deal with that same thing like me. It just preserves your baits better and puts more fish in the boat. I mean, who can argue with that, right? So anyways, going from the bait, we're going to go up the line to, I hope the camera can pick up that knot right there. And that is, if I remember correctly, an Alberto knot. I've been using the Alberto and the FC knot, and I can't remember which one that I tied here. But that is where the 8-pound fluorocarbon meets the 24-pound Gliss. Now, we've talked about Gliss before, but I'll go over it again just real quick, and why it's so perfect for the drop shot rig. And that is mostly because it's a lot like braid, where it doesn't have any stretch and it floats, but it's also like mono in the fact that it's just one filament line. It's not like braid where it's braided line. It casts super far. It comes out of the reel and out of the guides extremely well. It's absolutely crazy how much distance you will get this compared to straight fluorocarbon. And I will fish this rig either way depending on conditions, but I would prefer to fish it with the Gliss to fluoro leader. The only two downsides that I can really think of for Gliss is that it's not very abrasion resistant. So if you're fishing around heavy cover, you know, a lot of laydowns, sharp rocks, you got to make sure you keep it out of there or you will end up fraying up the line. But I will say that once it does get frayed, it does have a very it does a very good job, I should say, of bringing that bait back, and you can at least get it and retie it. I have yet to have this line fray so bad that it snapped off on me. The second biggest problem with Gliss is that it can get really bad wind knots. So if you're fishing in heavy wind, there's two things that you can do to fix that. The first one is going to be with a sidearm cast instead of an overhand. Keep the bait as close to the water as you can, therefore it doesn't have a lot of wind affecting it. The other thing that you can do, and I will do occasionally, is switch to a heavier weight. Like I said, I normally fish with a 3/16 ounce, but I will switch that out for a 1/4 ounce weight if the wind is really bad, just so I remain with the bottom contact and I feel everything, and it helps this line stay straight so it doesn't get as bad of wind knots. So that's just something to consider if you are thinking about going to Gliss, but I do definitely recommend that you try it out. So from there, we'll get down to basically the meat and potatoes of the rig, and that's the rod and reel. I would say that your weight is your absolutely most important part of this. Your rod and reel are your second most. So we will go with the rod here, and this is a Kistler Magnesium 2 7-foot medium fast action. And I think that is the most universal rod that you can buy for whatever technique. It really doesn't matter. 7-foot medium with a fast tip can do absolutely anything that you want it to. Is it great for punching? No. Is it great for Carolina rigs? Not really, but it will do it if you need it to. But overall, especially for us northern fishermen, it is by far all the rod that you would really ever need. And actually, I want to give a shout out to all my friends that are out there fishing the Kistler Big Bass Invitational. I really wish I could have made it there to see you guys this weekend, and I really hope that I can make it to the next one. I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that I'm there. Good luck to you guys. You all stay safe, and I hope you guys all have a great time for me. So from there, we'll continue on. We'll go to the reel, and that is an Ardent Finesse 2000 is what I use. The reel is probably the most user preference that I would say for this whole technique, because I know guys that like to use the real small, like 1000 series reels. I know guys that use 3 and 4000 series just because they like the added weight in the back of the rod. It helps with the jigging, I guess. It's all going to be up to your feel and how you feel you're comfortable and everything else that goes with that. I like a 2000. It's a perfect in-between reel. I think, once again, it is, when it comes to spinning reels, a 2000 to 3000 is probably the most universal reel that you can buy. It'll do anything that you ask it to. And I mean, you can see that this reel has seen some abuse. I've had this reel for 2 years, and I have put it to the test of doing everything. This rod has never seen a day since I've got it that it has not gone out fishing with me. And it still, rod and reel, performs like it did the day that I bought them. That's a testament to both Kistlers and Ardent's build quality. They're fantastic products. They are, in my opinion, affordable. When you look at some of these companies like Daiwa that have $400, $500 rods and reels, you don't need it. Not in today's industry. You do not need anything that is like that. I think that rod retails for about $180 and the reel retails for $70 or $80. Come on. That's a fantastic drop shot and really just finesse fishing general rod that you can buy. And you're going to keep it within or under the $300 price tag for the whole combo. That's awesome. That's seriously something that you guys need to consider if you're looking into the drop shotting. My biggest tips for fishing it is not to follow the trends. Don't fish baits that everyone uses just because that's what everyone uses. I've had more luck fishing odd baits, or baits that you wouldn't necessarily throw on a drop shot. Those always seem to work best for me. Honestly, this one right here is my go-to. It's a 4-inch green pumpkin yum dinger. I have caught largemouth, smallmouth, caught a 40-inch muskie, all on these baits here. Walleye, my first walleye came on this. They just work. Senkos just work. Don't be afraid to throw them. Wacky rigged, normal, doesn't matter. Another one of my personal favorites is the Zoom Tiny Fluke. This one's in a bait fish color. It's a 2.5 inch. And I'll actually roll in some pictures here right now of some of the fish that I caught just this year alone on that bait. And the best one being that 13.5 inch crappie. Just drop shotting for bass. Got on a school of crappie and ended up pulling out a bunch of them. I think I caught like 9 or 10 in that little spot that day. It's awesome. It's totally worth it. You can catch so many different fish with this rig and this setup that honestly I don't think anybody should be going out fishing without one drop shot tied on all year round. Work it fast, work it slow, yo-yo it like you would a lipless crankbait, drag it real slow. They just catch fish. They really do. And not just small fish. They will catch big ones as well. Now guys, the last thing that I want to talk to you about with this rig is just management of it. Because let's face it, I mean that's a lot of line and weight and bait hook that is fairly hard to get rigged up after the end of the day. And some guys like to just bite them off and retie them. I'm not a fan of retying. I don't really want to. That's not my kind of thing. So what I like to do is I'll actually put the hook in the factory hook holder, and then I will take my line and put it inside the Calco's Fishing Cali clip there. And I actually leave this a little bit turned so it's easier for me to do it. And I actually, if I have excess line, I'll just wrap it up. Just like that. Bam. And now your weight is contained. It's not going to fly around all over the rod, get tangled and everything. Your hook is in its hook keeper, so it's not up the blank. I've done it a couple times where I forgot to do that and ended up stabbing myself as I'm grabbing the rod out of the kayak. So this right here keeps everything contained. It's neat. It's perfect. It's the perfect way to transport a drop shot rig. And all you got to do when you get there is just undo the loops. There's your weight. There's your hook. You're ready to go fish. So that is, in my opinion, one of the best rigs overall that you can use to catch bass, walleye, crappie, muskie. It's awesome. It is a universal rig. Actually, very, very, very soon I plan to take this exact rig and go down to Florida and go do some Spanish mackerel fishing, and I know it'll work. Because it's just that good. So guys, if you have any questions on drop shotting, anything that I didn't cover that you want to discuss, or if you guys have any questions or comments, just please comment away. Let me know what you guys think about the video, and if there's anything else that you want me to go on and talk a little bit more about, and I'd be more than happy to. But thanks for watching, guys, and you have a good one.